So it's Friday, November the 8th, 2024. Yes, we are in the year 2024 and the time is really flying really fast. I can't believe that we're going to be having another New Year's Eve so quick. So I have 4 short videos I want to play today. The first one, this was a PNC protest outside of GECOM last Wednesday, and I think this protest is all about asking the government to produce a new voters list, as well as a controversial biometrics. As some of you might have read, the Attorney General, he's very skeptical about the biometrics and things like power outages during a biometrics process. So this is going to be the first video. The leader, Aubrey Norton, will be interviewed by EFC's Sherrod Duncan. But I think Sherrod made a mistake. It seems to me as though he was using either the Pocket 2 or the Pocket 3 camera. And the protesters, their chants seem to be drowning out the opposition leader's voice. Sherrod should have had one of those wireless microphones pinned on the shirt of the opposition leader. So I don't think you're going to be picking up clearly what the opposition leader is saying. So here goes.
Over as leader of the opposition, leader of the PNC. What are we asking for today?
We have a voice that really says, and that doesn't make any sense. So, as a result of the 2020 persons want to get the vote. For a clean biometrics. Because we have with biometrics, reduce in-person, and the PPP has been used to promote in-person with electronic cards overseas. And to them on election day, without biometrics, it's not the case. In cases where people want to vote double, that will also be but more importantly, in recent times, Claudette has been voting with the PPP.
Does that concern you?
Yes, it removes the independence from the commission. Because before, you had 3 PRs, the Elections Commission chairman was expected to be impartial and to operate in an impartial basis. She has failed to do that. In fact, every time she that is supposed to deliver something that is independent. Who must go? Who must go? Has to go. She has compromised herself. Who got to go? Who must go? Who got to go? Who must go? Claudette sing! Claudette sing! Claudette sing! She is voting to appoint people in positions you cannot expect a fair election. By her very actions, she decided in the convention for bias, for results that do not reflect an election. She is deeply concerned about this, in which 1, she's partisan, 2, she's gaining the benefit. Who got to go? Who must go?
Mr. Norton, again, one of the chief things called out here is the biometrics. Are you surprised that the then leader of the opposition in 2015 wanted biometrics so bad? I think he went beyond, last week he went beyond what we were calling for. And yet there's been kind of an about face now. Are you surprised by that?
No, I'm not surprised by anything that is immoral, anything that is illegal. Jagdeo was very vociferous when he was he made all the complaints about things he's doing. And so I'm not surprised. Jagdeo is a decent, I understand where Jagdeo is coming from. He's coming from the standpoint of a political leader who everything to stay in Moscow. And not only power in terms of the government, he's also seeking to get power, control power in the people by further marginalizing the family. So you deal with a character that has no pretensions or democracy. He is not going to be punished.
Yeah, we saw in the observation reports not only of our independent scrutineers for the recount, but also even the CEO's report. So impersonation. That's what biometrics is aimed at. The AG had taken list of names. We had said were impersonated. We had already verified them. He had taken them to re-verify. 2 years ago, he has to come back on that. What is happening?
The second video also concerns the PNC. The PNC held a press conference earlier, sometime after lunch. And in this short excerpt, Dennis Chabrol asked his opposition leader, Aubrey Norton, about the possibility of removing GECOM's chair, Claudette Singh. He was telling Norton that before he became leader, the PNC's mantra was to get rid of the GECOM chairwoman. So he's asking Norton, before you became leader, the task was to remove Claudette Singh, and what makes him think that it's going to be more easier for the PNC to remove Aubrey Norton? You're going to be hearing the leader of the opposition, Aubrey Norton's reply to Dennis Chabrol's question.
Dennis Chabrol, Amarabians, are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
I want to know, first of all, what do you envisage will be the time frame for the capturing of the fingerprints digitally, and so that they can be used at as part of the national elections? Secondly, prior to you becoming leader of the PNCR, on the first occasion, that is, you had set yourself the target of removing the chairman of GECOM. But she's still there. Why do you think anything will change now?
Let me deal with all of these. The timeline, my understanding is countries did it with much larger population than us in 3 to 5 months. And so it follows to me that with a population under 1 million people, then it should be easy. The other concern that is raised about the whole issue is that the PPP seem to have put a $20 million tag on doing biometrics, and that seems to be ridiculous when you look at countries who have got more people than us and they tend to use less funds. But then that is also in consonance with the corruption that is characteristic of the society today. As it relates to the second question of removing the chairman, we are still in the process of doing the political work to remove the chairman. You need to recognize that a lot of times these things are processes, and you have to build your political pressure from various angles and achieve your objective. In fact, I would think that it is the political pressure that probably caused the meeting not to come off yesterday as was planned. Now, I believe the chairman at this stage might be suffering from compunction because she is cognizant of the fact that she has voted every time with the People's Progressive Party, and that almost with automaticity removes any impartiality from her. And so I think she herself is aware that she's no longer credible, she's no longer acceptable. I think it is only time.
Thank you.
In this next video, Jagdeo held his usual Thursday press conference, and the Guyanese critic was asking him a question about whether the government feels comfortable to deal with the Donald Trump administration as compared to the Biden-Harris administration, in which the critic felt that they were easily influenced by some social media influencers in New York. And you're going to hear what Jagdeo says in terms of his reply to the Guyanese critic.
Mikhail Rodriguez for Daybreak News. Is the government a little more confident in a Trump administration based on the experiences of Trump? A previous Trump administration had to weigh in and ward off the stealing of elections in Guyana in the past, and the way that the recent administration, the Kamala Harris administration, was very receptive to a lot of lies by the opposition out of their New York base. Is there more confidence from your government in a Trump administration?
So clearly, the earlier Trump administration knew about the plot to rig the elections. The ambassador was here at that time. The ambassador saw the plot unfold before her very eyes. I recall her being in the Lennox John building, and there at, it's Ashmin's building right here, Ashmin's building, and people calling in a bomb threat, and uncharacteristically, because normally you should spirit away the ambassador. The ambassador and others refused to leave, even with the bomb threat. They stood their ground. And so they saw the whole plot and the obscenity of it. And they know the central players, they knew the central players in that plot. And they saw the repeated attempt to subvert the system. So, and these reports would have been filed with the State Department. So, if you talk about familiarity with the APNU and its crookedness, the earlier Trump administration would be very familiar with that. After that administration change, they, through a series of lies, the APNU and AFC and their lunatic fringe and their surrogates, the crooks abroad, tried to change what actually took place. And they might have misled some public officials in the US. But I think those officials too, over time, started to wise up about what's happening in Guyana. So I don't know, because people like Burke, he's been claiming, but he makes so many false claims. Oh, that, and I mentioned it about 2 or 3 weeks ago, that there's some officials in the regime who are engaged in regime change in Guyana. And they will do so by targeting PPP officials, by influencing the law enforcement authorities in New York to harass them. Now, whether it's true or not, I don't know, because just recently, you know, you had somebody claiming that Gail Teixeira was questioned there, and it's not true. So I don't know about this speculation and all of that. But clearly, the Trump administration, the earlier administration, knew about who the people were. And that is why they threatened sanctions against them. They threatened sanctions against the Granger administration. So we intend to work with everyone. We want to work with Democrats and Republicans. We work with the Biden administration. We want to work with the Trump administration. And we hope that more and more that people will see them for what they are. They don't care about Afro-Guyanese. They only try to use Afro-Guyanese as a mobilizing factor in hopefully to get back into office to continue the wickedness they did, not to help them. And
in this final short video clip, the AFC also held a press conference. LiveWire's Cordell Jones asked a number of questions, but the one I was focusing on, the Cordell Jones was asking the former Minister of Public Security, Ramjattan, about the allegations of the either 3 or 4 Russians who the AFC at the time, that was Ramjattan and Cathy Hughes, they claimed at the time that the Russians were in Guyana to influence the elections, and Ramjattan claimed that the Russians were deported. You're going to hear Cordell Jones asking Ramjattan questions about that.
Your news has a hand raised. Can that person identify themselves, please?
Good afternoon, Madam Moderator. This is Cordell Jones from LiveWire News. Should I ask all my questions at once, or will I be able to ask again?
You will be able to ask. We will answer your questions, Mr. Jones. So if you can give us one or maybe 2 questions, you'll go with those.
So since Mr. Ramjattan said one at a time, I'll start with you, Mr. Ramjattan. Last week, you said Mr. Jagdeo was speaking to 4 Russians, but the dossier compiled by the coalition and sent to US officials didn't mention this. In fact, the only mention of Russians was 2 Russians had checked into the Marriott and they disappeared. How do you explain this, sir?
I don't know of what dossier was sent. I am giving you expressly what was sent to me, and that is what I did an interview with Cathy a couple of years ago in relation to that. Those are the documents, and I have now retrieved them from the Commissioner of Police, and indeed, there were 4 persons. And I will tell you, Cordell, that indeed I signed 4 deportation orders. As a matter of fact, the report is more clear. The lawyers that were representing Jagdeo, Kisun and Kisun Farm, they went to also make representations for the 4 men. And we have the names and everything. So whatever discrepancy from a dossier as against what the commissioner sent to me, well, I will go by the commissioner's documentation.
Thank you.
Just to follow up on that, please.
Go ahead.
Go right ahead.
Yeah. So you're saying that you are a dossier that has your party's logo and name to it. You're not going to stand by that? I have the document here. I could share it to the Zoom meeting.
No, well, I'll stand whatever the dossier has. I will stand by what I am now telling you and what I spoken. Is it 3 or 4 years ago when myself and Cathy is about the press conference that we had at the time, and that was what was accurate. And I'll tell you also that indeed I signed 4 deportation orders. It's not 2. Good.
So it's safe to say that the dossier may contain inaccurate information?
You don't cross
Mr.
it.
Jones,
Yeah.
Mr. Ramjattan has provided an answer.
Yeah.
Sure.
If you're not satisfied with that answer, I'm very sorry, but Mr. Ramjattan speaks for the AFC and for his role as minister at the time. So that was his answer. Do you have another question?
And finally, I know right back to Freddie Kissoon claiming about Guyanese living in New York. They don't normally share what's going on. They want to speak about Guyana. They don't want to speak about what's happening in the neck of the woods. Well, the dust has finally settled. Donald Trump is the new president again of the United States. I voted since last month using mail-in ballot. I am not a fan of going and join long lines, especially even Guyana. And I had applied for a ballot since last month. And this is the way how I have it right in front of me on my laptop. You can track when you fill up your ballot. You can post it back in a special envelope. You don't have to put on any post stamp, and it goes back to the board of electors, the board of elections in New York, the city of New York, and you can actually track your ballot to see where it is going. Earlier when I tracked it, it was saying that my vote was valid, and then that was in a green box, saying that my vote was valid. In this case, in front of me on my laptop, you can put in your name, you put in your date of birth. Of course, you put in where you're living and your zip code. Current status, ballot received valid. State of description, your ballot was received at the Board of Elections. Then it has things like history application. It has the date of when the ballot received, valid. It has another date of when the ballot was received, voter mail ballot, delivery, out for delivery, ballot mail, and all those terms that I'm reading out there, they have dates to them. Even reviewing application submitted. Well, the application submitted, that's when I first applied for a mail-in ballot. That was on the 15th of August. So they have all the records right here, and you can print it out. But the main thing is that once you fill up that ballot properly, you make certain that you fill the circle with a black pen, and make certain that it doesn't spill outside of that circle. Your ballot is going to be valid. Your ballot, the main thing is to make sure that your ballot is valid. And once it's valid, you go online and you see that green box with a tick, saying that your ballot was valid. That means that your vote was counted. I like your system. No system in the world is perfect, but there's a difference between the first world and third world. And I end up doing it for the rest of my family. I saw how easy it was. I end up applying for ballots for the rest of my family, and they did the same thing. So I hope you have a pleasant Friday evening. I know some people are disappointed, but life has to go on, and we all have to go there and work. So that's it. Until next week.